All right, strap in everyone for a deep dive into one of history's most legendary battles.
Oh yeah, this one's a classic.
We're talking, of course, about the Battle of Thermopylae,
480 BC,
a clash of titans. The vast Persian Empire
led by Xerxes I.
against, well, a pretty determined alliance of Greek city-states.
They knew what they were fighting for.
And we've got some really fascinating sources to dig into.
What do we got?
Well, our main guide is going to be Herodotus's histories,
Always a good starting point.
but we'll also be looking at accounts by Diodorus Siculus.
He's got a slightly different perspective.
Right, and even some archaeological evidence like the Serpent Column.
Can't forget about the physical remains.
So get ready to journey back to ancient Greece with us.
Back in time.
We're going to uncover not just what happened at Thermopylae,
The nitty-gritty.
but why this battle still, captivates us today.
Thousands of years later, it still has that power.
Yeah. Why does it?
Well, it's a story that goes way beyond simple military history.
More than just battles.
It dives into those cultural values.
The things people believed in.
Military tactics, of course.
Always got to have some good tactics.
And that very concept of freedom.
Fighting for what you believe in.
Exactly.
To set the scene a little bit, imagine this.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
This was actually the second Persian attempt to conquer Greece.
Oh, so round two.
Yeah, a decade earlier, the Greeks had pulled off, a truly stunning victory at Marathon.
That was a big one.
But Xerxes...
He wasn't going to let that stand.
Oh, no, not at all.
He wanted revenge.
He returned with a vengeance. Yeah.
An overwhelming force.
By land and sea.
A two-pronged attack.
Determined to crush, just any Greek resistance.
Wipe them out.
Yeah, and this is where the geography of Greece comes into play.
Okay, so how does geography fit in?
So picture this.
Okay.
I'm picturing...
They're facing these overwhelming numbers, right?
The Persians are coming in strong.
The Greeks decide, okay, we need to make our stand at Thermopylae.
What's so special about Thermopylae? Okay, so it's this narrow pass between these towering mountains.
Okay, mountains on one side.
And the Malian Gulf.
Water on the other.
Exactly.
That does sound narrow.
Now, it wasn't quite the single-file path that, you often see in movies and stuff.
Yeah, that Hollywood dramatization.
It was actually wider than popular imagination suggests.
Oh, so a little more room to maneuver.
But still, a formidable bottleneck.
A choke point.
Yes, exactly.
So they're funneling the Persians in.
And that's key, right?
Why is that so important?
Because it meant that the Persian army...
Huge army, right?
Despite its massive size,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking, some estimates put it between 120,000 and 300,000 soldiers.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of people.
They couldn't simply overwhelm the Greeks with just sheer numbers.
Numbers aren't everything.
No.
Especially not in a tight space.
Exactly. The Persians couldn't deploy their full force effectively.
So their tactics were limited.
Exactly. For example, their cavalry.
Which usually, devastating, right?
On open terrain, unstoppable.
But here.
Useless, basically.
Older.
So picture this, okay?
All right, I'm with you.
On one side, you've got this massive Persian army.
Hundreds of thousands.
And on the other, a Greek force of around 7,000.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It's David versus Goliath.
The underdog story.
And the heart of that Greek force.
The ones everyone remembers.
The legendary 300 Spartans.
Led by King Leonidas.
Such a powerful image, right?
Yeah, those Spartans, they had a reputation.
But it's important to remember, they weren't alone.
Oh, so other Greeks were there too.
They were the most famous contingent? Sure.
Known for their discipline, their warrior culture.
Right, but they were joined by soldiers from other Greek city-states.
A united front.
We're talking Thespians, Thebans, Phocians, among others.
Strength in numbers.
And get this, the Spartans, they were actually in the middle of a religious festival.
A festival in the middle of all this.
The Carnea.
Where military activity was, forbidden.
Really?
You're not supposed to fight.
But they considered the Persian threat so serious.
That's how bad it was.
They sent Leonidas and his 300-strong royal guard
the hippies
to hold the pass.
So basically buying time.
Until the main Greek force could arrive.
After the festival.
Exactly. They were, essentially buying time with their lives.
Wow, that's commitment.
And this commitment, the sense of duty.
It's hard to imagine, right?
So ingrained in the Spartan psyche.
Part of their culture?
Before marching to Thermopylae, they consulted the oracle at Delphi.
Oh, the oracle. What did she say?
Yeah. And the prophecy?
It wasn't exactly, good news, was it?
Not at all. It foretold the death of a Spartan king.
Oh, so they knew what they were walking into.
Knowing this, Leonidas picked 300 Spartans who already had sons.
To ensure their lineage continued?
They were, literally going to Thermopylae prepared to die.
Wow.
Our Sparta, for Greece.
And what about Xerxes? What was he thinking?
Why so confident?
He must have known the Greeks would resist, right?
Herodotus actually tells us that he was shocked.
Shocked.
By the initial Greek resistance.
Like he didn't expect them to fight back that hard.
It's almost like he underestimated them entirely.
That's a big mistake.
It's fascinating how those cultural assumptions
You're thinking you know your enemy.
can play such a crucial role in warfare.
Yeah, assumptions can be dangerous.
And this brings us to those first 2 days of battle.
Okay, let's talk about the fighting.
Which were, pretty astonishing.
What happened?
Xerxes throws wave after wave of his troops at the Greek lines.
It's a constant assault.
And the Greeks, they hold firm.
Unbelievable.
Can you picture this in your mind?
I'm trying to.
Thousands upon thousands of Persian soldiers
Just surging forward.
against this, seemingly impenetrable wall
Of what?
of Greek shields and spears.
Like a human fortress.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did they manage to hold them off?
Well, the Greeks, and particularly the Spartans, fought in this formation known as the phalanx.
I've heard of that. It's like a wall of shields, right?
Imagine a bristling wall of shields. Yeah.
Each man protecting himself and the man next to him?
Exactly.
What makes sense in a tight space?
Right. And coupled with their longer spears and heavier armor.
Giving them an edge.
Oh, yeah. Big time. They had a significant advantage in the narrow pass.
Smart tactics.
And they fought with incredible ferocity.
These guys were tough.
Accounts tell if they fought until their spears broke.
Broke from fighting.
Yeah, they drew their swords.
Still not giving up.
And even when those were gone,
What? No spears, no swords. What then?
they fought with their bare hands.
That's crazy.
It seemed like the Greeks might actually hold out against all odds.
What a story.
Truly incredible, right?
Yeah, but we know how this ends.
Oh, yeah.
A tragedy.
We do. But how did it happen?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
There's more to this story.
Much more.
We'll get to that after the break.
Can't wait. But as we all know, history is full of twists and turns.
Oh, yeah. It never goes quite the way you expect.
And on the third day, the tide turned.
So what happened? Did the Persians find some new tactic?
Not exactly. It wasn't because of Persian military might.
Oh, so what was it then?
Something much more insidious.
What are you talking about?
Betrayal.
Betrayal? Oh, man. That always adds another layer to things, doesn't it?
It changes everything.
So who was this traitor?
A local Greek?
A Greek.
A Trachinian named Ephialtes.
Okay, and what did he do?
He approached Xerxes
No way.
and revealed a secret mountain path
A secret path.
that bypassed the pass of Thermopylae.
So they could go around the Greeks.
Exactly, outflank them completely.
Well, why would he do that?
Who knows for sure? Greed, maybe?
Oh, like a bribe from the Persians?
Possibly, or maybe some personal grudge. We can only speculate.
It's almost hard to fathom, isn't it? Betraying your own people in such a critical moment.
It's a tough one to wrap your head around.
This one act, it completely changed the course of the battle.
Absolutely. Just imagine for a second.
Okay, I'm imagining.
The moment the Greeks realized they were being outflanked.
Oh, that sinking feeling.
That sense of dread,
Yeah, like all is lost.
The understanding that their seemingly, impregnable position.
They thought they had the advantage.
Was now completely compromised.
Wow, so what could they even do at that point?
Well, Leonidas had to make a difficult decision.
Yeah.
So what do you think he did?
I know he stayed and they fought to the death, but did he try to hold the pass with all his forces?
He knew that was a losing battle.
Right, trapped from both sides.
Instead, he made a decision that would, basically immortalize him.
The Spartans stayed and fought, we all know that. But what about the rest of the Greeks?
He dismissed the bulk of the army.
Really? Let them retreat.
Allowing them to, retreat and fight another day.
Oh, that makes sense strategically.
But he, along with his 300 Spartans and 700 Thespians...
The Thespians stayed too.
They chose to remain and hold back the Persians.
To buy time for the others to escape.
Exactly, a rearguard action.
Knowing they were marching to their deaths.
It's hard to grasp that kind of courage.
It really is. Talk about bravery.
What about the other Greeks who stayed? You mentioned the Thebans before.
Oh, yeah. Were they part of this last stand, too?
There were 400 Thebans.
And they stayed.
Their motives are, a bit more ambiguous.
Oh, how so?
Some historians think they were forced to stay.
Like hostages?
Maybe, but others suggest they genuinely opposed Persian rule.
So they chose to fight.
Whatever the reason, They fought alongside the Spartans and Thespians.
To the very end.
It wasn't just a Spartan last stand.
A united Greek effort.
And it's worth taking a moment to talk about the Thespians,
Okay, what about them?
Their city-state, Thespiae, they were close allies with Sparta.
I didn't know that.
They had a long history of resisting the Persians.
So they weren't messing around.
Their decision to stay with Leonidas, it wasn't just about the alliance.
They believed in the cause.
A deep commitment to those shared ideals of freedom.
It's easy to forget about them.
They often get overshadowed by the Spartans, yeah.
But they were just as important.
Their contribution was vital.
A shared sacrifice.
Exactly.
Okay, back to the battle. You mentioned that the remaining Greeks,
The Spartans, Thespians, and Thebans.
they charged out of the pass to meet the Persians on open ground.
A desperate fight.
I'm trying to picture this. Was it just, utter chaos?
Well, with the element of surprise gone.
The Persians knew they were coming.
And closing in on both sides.
Surrounded.
It was certainly a desperate fight, yeah.
But they still fought with, skill and courage, right?
Even in those final moments, incredible courage.
Herodotus describes them fighting with everything they had left.
Spears, swords.
And even their bare hands.
When their weapons were gone,
Wow.
imagine the chaos.
The noise, the clash of metal, the shouts.
And in the midst of it all, Leonidas himself.
The king
He was killed.
struck down by a hail of arrows.
And the battle just raged on around him.
Both sides struggled to claim his body.
A testament to the respect, even in death.
That's powerful.
So what happened to the others?
Yeah, what about the remaining Greeks? Did they all die there?
After Leonidas fell, the remaining defenders, they retreated.
To where?
A small hill behind the Phocion wall.
Okay.
They made their last stand there.
So the Thebans,
They surrendered,
seeing it was hopeless,
but the Spartans and Thespians,
true to their code,
they fought to the death.
it's a brutal end.
The hill was showered with arrows.
Until there was no resistance,
It was a tragic end.
but one that cemented their place in history.
Absolutely.
So the Greeks lost the Battle of Thermopylae.
But did the Persians really win the war?
That's a good question. I mean, they took the pass.
But the sacrifice of Leonidas and his men,
What do you mean?
it had the opposite
I
effect.
didn't follow.
It ignited this firestorm of defiance throughout Greece.
They were even more determined to fight.
Their courage became a rallying cry.
So even in defeat, Thermopylae had a huge impact on the war.
And what about the Persians? What did they do?
Yeah, what happened after they took the pass?
They advanced south,
Further into Greece?
burning cities that had defied them, Plataea, Thespiae.
Those are the cities that had sent troops to Thermopylae.
Right.
And then, they went to Athens?
Eventually,
That must have been a devastating blow for the Greek,
it was a symbolic victory for the Persians, sure.
but not a total victory.
Not the crushing defeat they hoped for.
How so?
The Athenian citizens, they had evacuated,
Before the Persians arrived.
thanks in part to the time bought at Thermopylae.
Oh, so Leonidas' sacrifice actually helped save Athens.
In a way, yes.
So what did they do? Where did they go?
They took to their ships.
Became a naval power.
Which brings us to another crucial part of this conflict. The naval battles.
Ah, yes, the Greek Navy. We haven't talked about them much yet.
They played a crucial role.
What were they doing while all this was happening at Thermopylae?
While Leonidas and his men were holding the pass, the Greek fleet was engaged in a fierce battle of their own.
Where?
The Straits of Artemisium.
Okay, and what were they trying to do there?
Prevent the Persians from landing troops behind the Greek lines.
Cut off their retreat.
Exactly.
A coordinated effort, land and sea.
To hold back the Persian advance.
And how did that go? Were they successful?
They were eventually forced to withdraw.
Oh, so the Persians won at sea too.
But they inflicted heavy losses on the Persian navy.
So it wasn't an easy victory.
And this naval element, it's crucial to understanding the whole picture.
It's more than just Thermopylae.
Exactly.
Okay, so Athens is captured, but the Greek navy is still intact. What happens next?
Well, recognizing the strategic importance of the sea,
Okay,
they lured the Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis,
another bottleneck.
exactly negating the Persian advantage.
Clever.
And it played to the strengths of the Greek ships.
Smaller, more maneuverable,
It was a brilliant tactic.
like a naval Thermopylae.
You could say that.
And it worked.
Oh, it worked spectacularly.
The Greeks won.
The Battle of Salamis was a resounding Greek victory.
Wow, so Thermopylae, even though they lost.
It contributed to this decisive naval victory.
Amazing. What about Xerxes? What did he do after this? Was this it for him?
Facing a crippled navy, and the possibility of being trapped.
Things weren't looking good.
He decided to retreat
Back to Persia.
with a large portion of his forces, but he left behind a substantial army
To keep fighting.
under the command of Mardonius.
So the war wasn't over yet.
But the tide had definitely turned.
What a story. It's amazing how Thermopylae, even though it was a defeat,
Had such a ripple effect.
yeah, like it changed the whole course of the war.
It really did.
So what happened to Mardonius and the Persian forces that stayed in Greece?
Well, the following year,
Okay.
the Greeks,
Alebe,
the Spartans and Athenians, confronted Mardonius
at another battle.
at the Battle of Plataea.
And how did that go?
Decisive victory for the Greeks.
They won.
Mardonius was killed.
Oh, wow. The remaining Persian forces routed. So that was pretty much the end of the invasion.
This marked the end of the second Persian invasion of Greece.
So the Greeks ultimately prevailed.
Against all odds.
And Thermopylae, even though it was a loss,
played a crucial role.
it's fascinating how a single battle, even in defeat, can have such a lasting impact.
It's true.
But why has Thermopylae, in particular, why has it resonated so strongly throughout history?
That's a great question.
What makes it such a powerful story?
It's become more than just a battle.
Something bigger.
It's a symbol.
Of what?
Courage, sacrifice, the fight for freedom.
Against all odds.
Exactly. It's that image of those warriors, especially the Spartans, standing firm against, well, a seemingly invincible foe.
It's the ultimate underdog story, isn't it?
It really is.
Knowing their fate.
And still choosing to fight.
But I wonder, was it truly selflessness that motivated them?
That's a good question.
The Spartan military code was incredibly complex, right?
You're right. It wasn't just about individual heroism.
It was more than that.
Spartan culture, it was deeply rooted in duty.
Obedience.
A willingness to sacrifice for the state.
They were raised from childhood to be warriors.
They put Sparta first.
To value honor and discipline above all else.
So even though their actions were, extraordinary,
They were also a reflection of their society.
it wasn't just defying a foreign invader,
It was upholding their way of life.
their code of conduct.
Exactly. And that's what resonates with people
Even today.
across cultures and time periods.
That idea of standing up for what you believe in.
No matter the challenge.
Spartans at the Thermopylae, they knew they were going to die
But they chose to fight.
for their freedom.
It's a powerful image, a message that transcends time.
And it also highlights, I think, the importance of strategy in warfare.
Right. Tactics matter.
Despite being vastly outnumbered,
They held off the Persians for days.
using the terrain
Disciplined fighting formations.
just shows that skill and determination can make a difference, even against a superior force.
And there's still, physical reminders of this battle.
Oh yeah, the battlefield at Thermopylae, there are monuments there.
Several, including a statue of Leonidas
Of course.
and a memorial to the Thespians.
Those who fought alongside the Spartans.
And then there's that famous epitaph.
Oh, the one by Simonides?
Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie.
Powerful stuff.
A reminder of their sacrifice.
Their commitment to duty.
It's moving.
But what does it all mean for us today?
That's the real question, isn't it?
Why should we care about a battle that happened over 2,000 years ago?
Because it offers us so much more than just a history lesson.
It's a story that continues to inspire.
A reminder that even when facing overwhelming odds, we have the power to choose.
To make a stand for what we believe in.
Exactly.
It encourages us to think about our own values.
What do we stand for?
Our willingness to fight for what's right.
Even when it's difficult.
The legacy of Thermopylae.
Bravery, defiance, the human spirit. That's something worth remembering.
No matter what challenges we face.
Well said. This has been an incredible journey.
Back in time.
We've explored the historical context, the players, the drama of the battle.
On its enduring legacy.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for this pivotal moment in history.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
And for you listening, we encourage you to, delve even deeper.
Read Herodotus's account, explore the art and literature inspired by Thermopylae.
And as you reflect on all of this, consider this.
One final thought.
If Leonidas had chosen to retreat,
with the rest of the Greek forces,
would the outcome of the Greco-Persian Wars have been different?
It's a question historians still debate.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.